some point, like, this lady comes down and she's like, needs your
No, I'm
thing that you've bought
Oh,
to have a
right,
picture.
yeah, yeah.
And I was like, I
I'm
didn't
good,
do that. I didn't know that I was doing this. And
It's been good.
and so then at this point, I've already invested this time, you know? And she's like, well, you know, we'll let you do it at the front. And this was like $50. I was like, oh my God, all right. So I get the $50, and it literally, it's like this. I've seen the picture. I walked in.
That's awesome.
I walked in, and I was like that, and he sort of politely turns me. So I could barely see him at all. I see nothing.
That's awesome. Is he a
And the cameraman's like, oh, you look great. You look fantastic. And I'm like, thank you. And he's like, patting me out. Wow. That was great. So, yeah. So now I post that picture every 10 minutes just to try to get my $50 worth.
In my entire life.
Yeah, I know.
I'm looking at you, Comics Bulletin.
But I literally did not get to look him right in.
That's horrible.
And then hilariously, we go to the green room afterwards because we're waiting for like our ride, and we're like, it's totally like he's at the next table. And now at this point, I've paid $50 to have my picture taken, and my hand actually done to him.
My favorite was like being in the green room for San Diego and working with the baby, and because I work for Robert, and they were doing the Cincinnati panel. I was like, I needed to change your diaper, and I was like, oh, this is great. We changed your diaper on the tables in the green room.
Yeah, no.
It was fun. Yeah, it was handy.
Yeah, I always feel like I don't belong in those rooms. It's like, I don't know what to do. I am averting my eyes.
Come on, Shannon.
Excuse me?
Come on, Shannon.
Oh, that's my name.
She got lost.
Not hard to do.
No, I had to go ask somebody this.
I had somebody too. I thought the upper sixes, I thought there was like a lower and east side.
I've never been up here. Have y'all ever been up on this before?
Mm-mm.
Better my phone.
I was going to tweet if someone posted.
I've reached that age now where like I have to take my glasses on and off constantly, which is super classy. But so I totally didn't recognize you. Hey man, what's up?
On fine.
Oh,
I'm doing good.
Lenox, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how it works.
it's nice to see you.
I just signed up.
I think we just spent a whole.
But it says
Did you?
Amy Lennox.
Aw. Yeah.
Got nothing for me, Tom. Okay, let's 420. I think we should go through.
Yeah.
She can just jump in.
Who's gonna make the 420 joke?
Smoke them if you got them.
Push the button.
Oh, there she is.
Dun 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 dun.
I just wanted to go.
What's up?
Hi, guys.
Hi.
All right, I'm pushing the button. This is it.
Here we go. Let's do this.
All right.
Hello, everybody. I'm Allison Baker, and you probably don't know who I am. That's okay. I am co-publisher of Monkey Brain Comics, which is a digital first in print. I say digital first now because we've announced print collections to be coming out from different publishers in the coming year. And I'm going to go ahead and let the lovely panelists that are joining with me today go ahead and introduce themselves, because they probably do a better job than I would. We'll start with Kelly.
Okay. I'm Kelly Sue DeConnick, and I'm getting feedback here, so how's that? Is that better? There's like 6 of you. I could probably just turn this off. You could tell. You could move up. It could be like my living room, right? I write Captain Marvel for Marvel and Avengers Assemble for Marvel and Ghost for Dark Horse. And my first creator-owned series is called Pretty Deadly, and that's coming out from Image sometime this year. I don't know. Emma Rios.
That's fabulous art.
Yes, she's totally carrying me. Don't let anyone tell you different.
My name is Jen Vaughn. I work at Fantagraphics Books in the marketing department, and I was in a documentary at least one person saw about, it's called Cartoon College, about the Center for Cartoon Studies and getting a master's in cartooning.
My name is Emmy Lennox. I'm best known for my autobio comic called Emmytown, which is published through Image. I've also done work for Joe Keating's Glory, Jeff Lemire's Sweet Tooth, and Mike Allred's Madman.
I'm Shannon Waters. I am a senior editor at Boom Studios on the Kaboom line of books, Adventure Time, Bravest Warriors, Peanuts, etc.
All right, and basically this panel is about the internet and how that's changing things, whether it be being able to reach and communicate with creators, readers and fans, talking to them on Twitter, on Facebook, on Tumblr. Now we have, what is it, the Vine thing? Is that what it's
Vine,
called?
oh, yeah.
Vine.
I
Make sure you
discovered
always
that
say-
yesterday.
Yeah, the kids are loving Vine these days. I
The
feel
only
like.
way to age yourself is add the in front of anything. The Facebook, the Vine.
The Vine. Kids
I
love
think
the
I'm
Vine.
the oldest person.
I was thinking.
What's with that Vine thing? But yeah, but also digital distribution, creating larger access to everything basically, and how that's really changing the way people are marketing and selling books, but also creating relationships. So let's see, who wants to go first and talk about what that means? Anybody have an experience that they want to talk about?
Well,
Go for it.
Go
I
ahead.
guess for me in particular, since I have an autobio comic and I used the internet to put it out there a long time ago, I thought that the internet really helped me gain an audience before finding a publisher for it. And so that's kind of one way I utilize the internet. And people begin to get to know who you are, and you become a human being, which is awesome because hopefully they know you have feelings, which is also important to me. And I'm
Or
rambling.
feels. They're feels, really.
Oh, I have a question about that, and a point to make, I guess. So when you started your webcomic, did you start a Twitter account like a year before the website? You would start posting comics on the website, or was the content first?
That is a good question. And I'm going to try very hard to remember and give you correct information. I think I actually started the comic first, which was on a blogger, which most people don't even use anymore. That's become ancient, I feel, with,
Oh, man,
with
remember
WordPress and Tumblr now.
When
but
everybody posted their comics on
LiveJournal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But,
Yeah.
GeoCities.
and then I got a so I started with Blogspot, got a Twitter, made a Facebook page, and then made a Tumblr in that order in a span of 3 years.
Right, but you were drawing the comics first.
Yes.
Okay, but I think from what I can see, a lot with Fantagraphics and myself being a cartoonist, a lot of people will start hyping stuff before they've even made it, and which is fine. But obviously, in book publishing, you have to start a year or so ahead. But when it's like a 1 or 2 man team, just get that shit on paper first, and then because then people will start coming as you start posting regularly.
So the Adventure Time books and most of the Kaboom titles that we do over at Boom, their creative teams are almost entirely sourced from webcomickers I like, basically. They're people that the direct market hasn't necessarily seen the potential in, and they're all incredible and great. And I think a lot of people feel like they want that traditional model. They want to skip the putting your work online and getting yourself out there. But that's what gets these people their jobs, and that's what gets your book deal. That's what making that content is what allows you to getting that content out there is what allows you to kind of do these grand things that you want to do with your comics.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of, at least new creators that are trying to break out in comics, they feel like they need to keep their story secret as if someone will steal it from them and then show it to a publisher once they have 2 pages done. But it's actually, I find, quite the opposite. A lot of times I think publishers are more interested to see how successful or what the feedback has been online to see how, the world has accepted your work.
Well, and it shows that you have discipline and that you, obviously, it shows a range of your work, but it also shows that this is something that you can stick to. And, editors, it would be beautiful if, the world operated in a way where it was like, you are just so talented. Here's everything for you. But, you know, if you can be as talented as you want, but if you're not a hard worker and you haven't proven to me that you're somebody who can hack it, then I'm not going to hire you, you know? And what webcomics do is really show that somebody has a discipline and a drive to do something creative every day and do it well. So,
Or at least a really good buffer of comics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's really like how we kind of took the approach with Monkey Brain, was that, you know, but also trying to monetize that from the beginning. And it was like, that was the kind of when I was trying to figure out, like, what could I build as a business model that we could monetize something digitally, grow an audience organically over time, where there's not a lot of capital having to be expensed.
exactly.
And therefore, in turn, you know, creates a book deal for people in the end, because you get the buzz and you get the notice, and you have actual sales numbers, which is on top of you know, having that information from just, you know, reader feedback as well. Kelly, did you have anything to add about that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I have a lot of different thoughts in different directions. I sort of don't know what we're. I'm not sure exactly.
We're
what
just having feelings.
We're
Hopefully
just
they're helpful
we're just sharing our
feelings.
feels.
I have lots of
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've been on the internet for a very long time. I met my husband on a comic book forum,
Nice.
and it is. We are living in this time of such change. Like it's all changing so much and so quickly, and I am not sure where. I am not sure where to put my money. You know,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like, there's I'm not sure what comics is going to be in, 2 years.
I don't think
you know?
anybody knows
Yeah.
what comics are going to be.
I don't. The goal for me is to work less and make more.
Oh.
That's what I'm shooting for here. I'm a slow writer. I would like to be able to not suck. So I want to have the time to spend on my books, and you know, I am sort of rapidly coming to the conclusion that I am not built for monthly comics. That is problematic for me. And the number of them that you have to do to cobble together a living wage.
Yeah.
And you know, when you're 42 years old and you're pulling all-nighters, you sort of think there's got to be a better way to do this. And then, you know, I am an early adopter, which I think just means that, like, I like gadgets and new internet toys, and so I've got Twitter and a posting board and a blog and a Tumblr, and you know what this is bullshit right here. Oh, can I say that? I did. Oops.
Hide your ears, children.
Yeah, this
Cover
is
them.
do we have no children in here, right? Yeah. Okay. So
We're all adults here. We can speak freely.
this is a huge waste of my time. This is time I'm not writing my books, and I think that there's a certain, you know, you like particularly we'll use Captain Marvel as an example. I have been busting my ass for a year, engaging and promoting and trying to get Carol in the hands of people who have given up on comics for, you know, because the sort of superhero that they wanted had gotten a little dark. It was like, no, you know, here, ladies, you magical unicorn ladies that read comics, come buy my book. And it's, we have this like incredibly, and I can't take all the credit for it. The fan base for this character pre-existed me, but we have this incredibly engaged fan base. I literally get at least one letter a week from someone who tells me that Captain Marvel, it was their entree into print comics, that they have ventured into a comic book store for the first time for this book, or that they have opened up a poll for the first time for this book because they're trying to support it. I look at our print numbers, and they're not good. They are, if you look at the internet, we're well reviewed, and we have an incredibly participatory, very vocal fan base, but our sales numbers are not fabulous. Now, I don't know what our digital numbers are. I have a suspicion that they're probably skewing higher than what other similarly marketed books would, but I have nothing to base that on. That's just my notion, because so many of my Tumblr pals are fragile little paper cranes who don't want to venture into comic book stores because they scare them, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them, you know. It's there for as many truly wonderful comic book stores as they are that do foster community and are welcoming. There are also some horrendous places, you know, that smell bad and support the stereotype.
And not everybody has access to a comic shop at all.
No. Somebody wrote to me from like some place in rural Australia and wanted to know where they could get my book. I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know what kind of bugs you have there. You know?
I ended up sending like a bunch of iZombies to Ireland.
Yeah.
Because the guy couldn't get the books.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to pirate them. So it's, you know, it was kind of like, you know, that's, I think, the other part of digital, like it makes it more accessible for people that wouldn't normally have access to the comics at all.
Yeah.
Because they just want to read them. You know, that's the fundamental issue, is that people just want to read stuff.
But yeah, so I go back to this thing and like all this time spent doing this, and I sort of wonder, like, did that work for me? Because I don't know that it did. You know, I am not certain that that paid off in the way that I wanted it to. Now, I do have the feeling that like I literally did everything I could. You know, and
a lot of people have really cool knitted Captain Marvel hats.
Yeah, they do. they do. I mean, you know, and then the quality of the book is a whole other thing. Like I'm learning. But you know, I'm making the best book that I can, and I've engaged the fan base in the best way that I can. But I am sort of starting to get to the point where I'm like, I need to pare this down. Yeah. You know, you know, like when you do a thing where it's like, you know, so and so wants to have you on where you can take questions. I'm like, why is that special? Or like, you know, like CBR is a lovely site, but CBR sends me a list of interview questions, and I'm like, okay, why am I doing this? You know, like I am available for questions. Like anybody can send me a question anytime, any time of day. Anyone can send me a question on Tumblr or Twitter or Jinx World or Facebook. Or I'm closing that fucking Facebook page. That's just a waste of time. But you know what I mean? Like why do I have to be available in 19,000 different venues? You know, and most of the comics journalism people that I work with are lovely people who have done their research. But you know, every once in a while you get that list of questions that's like, so tell me, how'd you get into comics? And I'm like, no, I'm not telling you that, because it's on the internet. If you Google how did Kelly Sue DeConnick get into comics, you will get that answer. And like the amount of time, like, I know, and I sound so ungrateful. Here the people are like trying to support my book, and I'm being nasty about it. But like, I don't get to sleep very much, and I don't get paid to do interviews. And you know, and you get like this thing where you're like, oh God, this is a huge mistake. I shouldn't be being this honest, by the way. But you get the thing where you're like the time that I'm spending answering this stupid questionnaire that you've sent to 15 other people with the exact same questions on it that you haven't bothered to spend 10 minutes to find out if I've answered before, I could be spending with my kid, you know? And you're not selling my books. You're gonna put this interview up word for word in front of the same 6 people that have clicked on every other fucking interview on your site, and no! There!
But that brings up a really
Well.
interesting. That brings up a really interesting point because I think that today I don't know what it was like 5 years ago. My husband Chris Robertson really just got into writing comics in the last 4 years, or 10 years ago. But like the marketing support from the publishers, in a lot of cases, I'm gonna kick this to Jen, who works for one, or even Shannon. A lot of times the books don't get the marketing support just because of the sheer volume of books coming out from a publisher. It's a lot of work, as Kelly has just explained to us, to keep that buzz up about whatever book we're talking about in general. And I know that a lot of creators, have had to kind of take those reins to basically to continue to have a living. Jen, do you have any thoughts on that?
About working at a company?
Well,
Or-
no, just like about like how hard it is like to continue to like market books.
Well, I saw 2 threads in Kelly Sue's.
Rant?
Yes,
is the
yes,
word
thank you.
you're
I
looking
was
for.
gonna say.
This is
I was gonna say
career
diatribe.
suicide, my suicide
I was gonna say diatribe and like use more syllables, bring up the discourse.
If I push this green button again, will it stop streaming?
Maybe.
Well, first of all, I think she's definitely right about a lot of people, like a lot of the comics websites, are you get some of the same questions asked of you, but I do think that also people want to hear them, and maybe that interview is an entrance point for them. Like maybe they haven't read about you before, so that's why sometimes their books in a series will have the same intro every time, because you never know when someone's going to buy that book and give it to someone else, and that'll be the first time and they're like, I don't know who Carl Barks is, or
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean, I guess I sound like such an ass. I'm
Well, no,
sorry.
I mean,
I'm kind of an ass, but not
I mean,
as
you
bad
don't
as-
want to hear like when someone's like, "Who are your influences?" and you're like, "Oh," like
Yeah.
it's like an artist being asked like, "What kind of tools do you use?" And you're like, "Well,
Magical pencil.
yeah."
But I think it's the difference between like when a woman who has just picked up the book or is interested in the picking up the book and just really wants some way to engage me, asks a question that is a question I've heard 100,000 times before. That's an entirely different thing. I don't mind that. It's when the 6 sites that we seem to use repeatedly to market our books. Oh shit! This is such a bad idea.
I'm really sorry.
Wait, can I go on? Can I do to my second point now?
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
My second point was that I think a lot of people, I think I read this in an interview actually, but I'm going to pontificate more. They're buying comics right now based on subject matter more than anything, and that's maybe something that marketing people are starting to use to get to other websites. Like if you have a book on, like H.P. Lovecraft, then you're going to go to like the Lovecraft Society and propose something. And so we're always looking for other venues. And so I used to do a menstruation series, and I would have doulas,
yeah.
one of them, and midwives come up, and they asked me to table at one of their conventions. I was like, I will do that. I got sick, but I sent my books anyway.
That's
And
rad.
yeah, it's finding sometimes a little tiny audience where you can sell your stuff not just to people that want to read comics. But I think that the majority of people who are not at Emerald City Comic Con, and also not just here because they want to see Patrick Stewart, they buy books based on subject matter, not just because they want to experience the art of comics.
Y'all have any,
Yeah.
anything else?
I agree.
Well, I feel like, I had some thoughts listening to Kelly Sue, but again, I feel like I'm less experienced in the world of comics, personally. I will,
Well, it's
I feel like if there's like a bunch of places that want to interview me, but then again, I'm not known like Kelly is. This is a little different, but I feel like anybody that, even if they ask the same questions, to me, I could be reaching a different audience, and that could gain more and more readers. Even if you just get one person and they read your book and they like it, and they'll tell another person just because of one interview on a site that they frequent.
It does feel like you're saying the same thing over and over again in a lot of places, but different people access things different from different places.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm asking is how do I get back to that work less, write more,
Copy and paste.
make more money. Yeah. You know what? I've done that. I've done that, and I don't know how to feel about it. Like I'm like, oh, is that crappy of me? Like if I've answered this question before to just copy and paste word for word the answer, I don't know.
I think you just don't answer them.
I think a lot of people do that
Or
more.
put a disclaimer.
You know, and
Frequently
it could
asked question.
just be too that like I feel like I'm in a therapy session here, but it could be too that I've just sort of I've been talking for a year and a half, you know, and there is a point at which I'm just sick of the sound of my own voice, and I want to figure out how to do what I'm supposed to do to promote my books and my collaborators, who I'm so proud of, you know, and to tell these stories that I think when we're doing our best work really do. I mean, we make light of it, but like a listening feels, that's what I'm going for, you know. Like I want you to feel human. You know, I want you to read this story and find something in it that, you know, I was listening. You guys know the double clicks? Yeah, right on. I went to a show the other night that they were like a last minute addition to. I've never heard them before, and they did this song about it's like told from the perspective of the Mars rover.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it really. I was like. It's supposed to be, I think, a silly song, but it was so emotionally honest. Like I was like really genuinely moved and kind of had a lump in my throat from this song. It's like, you know, the Mars rover talking about how like it didn't know what it was doing, and it was such a long way from home, and it wasn't sure it was going to do it right, and it's just going to pretend and fake it, you know. And I was like, that's me. You know, and it was just this like, I was like, oh, right, art, I'm crying, you know, like that, like, that's what I want to do. I want to like, I want to tell a story that makes somebody go, oh, right, human art, I have a feeling here, you know, and,
Okay, so maybe to distill that, like you are an early adopter, like I think probably a lot of us are, but it's finding the right tools for you.
Yeah.
Well, and I think setting some boundaries as well. You know, I think whether if you have an editor or even personally, you know, if you're doing something like Emmy does, establishing kind of like being like, okay, you know, this is gonna kill me if I have to keep answering these same 10 questions 800 times, you know. And maybe I don't use Twitter, but I use Tumblr, you know, and that feels good to me, and I just have it set so it automatically posts to my Twitter, and that's enough for me, you know. And you know, I hopefully on a good track.
I love Tumblr. Actually, I just discovered Tumblr.
yeah, Tumblr is I think Tumblr is what this is going to become. Is like this is going to become what that Twitter and Tumblr.
I think Tumblr is like the bane for artists. I mean, it's like the greatest tool and the worst tool if they don't like put their name anywhere, because people will not credit you. Like,
Well, but at the same time, you know, I find a ton of artists on Tumblr.
Oh yeah.
And that's been the greatest tool for me, just because I'll find somebody and I'll be like, they're great, follow, and then their art is on my eyeballs, you know, every other day, and I'm like, oh, well, thank God I followed them on Tumblr. Otherwise, I would have totally forgotten.
Yeah, it's like a visual Twitter that allows for more than 140 characters, so I can sort of. The only thing about Tumblr that I'm not crazy about, and I don't, because I'm not a visual artist, I don't have to worry about people stealing or reblogging my work in that way. But the thing that I can't, you can't converse.
Yeah.
Really, so that part is a little bit awkward. Like I'll post something and then I've allowed for replies, and someone will ask a question about it, and then I can't answer them there. So then I have to like find their page and see if they have an ask that's open, and then answer them there. And it's a couple more steps than I'd like to have, but I have a feeling they're going to address that. I have a feeling it's very technical, important, that I'm pretty sure that that's going to happen, because I feel that they'll fix that for me.
Right, because you want your social media to actually have the social component.
Right.
Sorry, am I too loud? And I believe we all actually met. Well, we met in person. Emmy has actually been working on Emmytown for a long time. When we met in 2008, we were both interning at Top Shelf, and she was working hard on it then, and now Image is publishing it. So.
Yeah, that's funny.
No, that you worked hard and then it got paid
I
off.
worked hard, and I posted a page every day back then. And I made a mini, and my first convention was actually Emerald City in 2009. And then I showed it to Eric Stevenson, and then I got an email.
Boom. Or, sorry.
Bada boom.
Yeah, bada boom.
Big bada boom.
But I think the rest of us all met online, actually, by being social and talking to each other, and not just, I don't know, whether it was like drunk watching movies together in our different time zones, or...
Yeah, there's like the drunk tweeting that Chris and I do.
Which is
What?
great. If you don't follow Allison on Twitter, you really should.
know about this.
You don't know about the drunk tweeting?
Oh, it's the best.
Well, we've kind of been, since we moved to Portland, we were in an apartment and it wasn't really conducive to doing it. And now we're in a house, so we're going to have to resume it soon. But
I'm still waiting for
Oh my
mine.
God, how rowdy is this?
well, we were like living, like the three of us were living in this like 1,000-square-foot apartment, like me and my husband and my 9-year-old daughter, which you could like literally stand in one corner of the apartment and see the entire apartment. And we did that for 8 months, which I don't know, like you come from like 3,600 square feet and you move into 1,000 square feet and you have a daughter who has like more toys than she should. Yeah, so we couldn't really watch television while she was sleeping.
I got you.
But yeah. So
I just
it's not
like
really
the
that
idea that the
exciting.
doctrine.
But I'll give a this is like, you know, crass commercialism. I'll go into this for really quickly. I just launched a book on Tumblr. New book, new free 0 issue. It's called Frost. If you follow Monkey Brain Comics on Twitter or on Tumblr, you already have a link to it. So all of you watching at home, live streaming this, you can go pick it up. It's actually free. Free preview issue. Brendan Jerwa and Eric Troutman are writing with Giovanni Timpano doing the art. And that's all I'll say about that right now. We'll go back to what we're talking about.
Friends, making friends on the
Oh, yes.
internet.
So I think I first started talking to you when you were looking for a house.
Yeah, probably.
Because like I was about to be in
We
that.
met in New York, on the street. I took my shoes off because they were too high, and you guys were living in Austin at the time, which is where I grew up.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and then we started talking on the internets. Yeah, no, I have the life that I have today because of the internets. I don't mean to sound as negative as I do. I'm just really tired.
But so you connected on like common issues that weren't just comics related.
Yeah.
Whether they were high shoes or houses.
Yeah, I mean, my editor on Pretty Deadly I met on the internet. My husband I met on the internet. Warren Ellis is one of my dearest friends. I've met him in person 3 times, I think. That might actually be like, it might only be 2. But I probably talk to him every day and or close to it. And he's been one of my best friends for a decade, you know? So, I mean, the internet has really changed our lives in a profound way, and changed our industry. And I don't know, I'm fascinated with where it's going, but I have no idea. But I'm interested, I think, in like different. You know, we're gonna try and do a merch store online next year.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, we're just sort of like in that like.
I think you have to do everything.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, which is a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I'm all about doing as much as you can, because honestly, this publishing is a very small margin, no matter how you go about it. It's a very difficult business to be in. Being a creator is a very difficult business to be in on the other side, because you're always trying to hustle to get more work or keep the work you have.
And make it good too. Like how do you find the time? I think it's just the like how do you find the time to engage all of these people that you want to engage? And you know, and I love coming to comic conventions and sitting at my table and getting a chance to say thank you and to learn people's names and, you know, get a chance to sign their books and see them, like, you know, there are people I only know from cons, that I see every year, and that's fun. There's Gabby, who has the Osborne tattoo on her neck. I met her at Emerald City 2 years ago, I think, and like she's been drawing, and like every time she comes, she shows me she's getting good. She's getting really good. She's like doing mini comics now, and like it's fun. It's really fun to kind of watch that progress. But like so you find the time to do the cons and to engage people on all of these different venues, and to do the interviews, and to write your books, and to raise your family, and then also to try at some point to have something like a life, so that you actually have things to write about, and also like keep up with the industry and other people's comics.
Yeah, and be able to read other people's work.
Yeah, and get excited about that stuff, and it's just, it's a. I have not sorted it. I have done it, I think, very poorly, and I need to figure out a new strategy. And one of the smartest people about, I think, internet engagement is Warren Ellis.
Yeah, he's been doing it for a long time,
and he does it very methodically, and in a way that is much more disciplined and smarter than my kind of Muppet approach.
I like your Muppet approach.
Thank God, because after this, you're going to need to be my employer, because I'm going to get fired from everything, which is going to be neat. Don't tell my husband.
I'm no stranger to controversy myself. So. With that, I think that, unless anybody has anything else to add, we could open the floor up to questions. Tom? Okay, I'll repeat the question for everybody at home. Tom Spurgeon asked if he feels that the coverage we've gotten has driven traffic, and essentially.
What kind? Is it interviews? I mean, do you get traffic from interviews, or what works?
So what works? I don't know. I don't think anybody really knows. I think that you try to do as much as you can and try to get the word out in any way you possibly can, and hope it works. Honestly, as a publisher, I've been a print publisher for 10 years. We started doing the digital comics thing in July. What we're doing is an experiment. We had no idea how people would respond to it. We had no idea what the sales would be. But I think that through all of it, I've done some things right. I've done some things probably wrong. But it's a learning experience, that's for sure. And I think that the more I can get people out there and looking at the books, because I believe it's good content, I think word of mouth is probably the most powerful tool anybody has, and trying to get people to engage and to buy stuff. Does that answer your question? Okay.
I have you probably can't answer this, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. I imagine there may be too many variables, but I guess, interested to know what kind of numbers do you have to hit for a digital comic in order for, what do you have to hit to get out of the red?
Oh, well, the way that we work is basically all the creative teams are working on back end. So, somebody brings a book to me and I say, okay, great, put it together. Chris and I do the pre-press and we upload it. There's not really any real capital spent, as in dollars. There's sweat equity.
Okay.
Is what we like to we're basically doing the work, and obviously our time is valuable. But the creators kind of buy in too with the sweat equity, and so basically if the creative teams are willing to do the book for as long as they want to do it, I'm there to publish it. basically like, I think that at a certain point, the creators, if it's not going to be worth their time,
Sure.
if they're not going to, if they could have paying work or, advanced stuff. So, yeah.
Like I guess I've been thinking about like the you do work for hire work partly out of love because we have some kind of affection for these
Right.
iconic characters, and then partly in an effort to build a brand around your name, your style, or whatever it is, and then you take that to your creator-owned work where you don't have to do the same numbers because the financial works out better for you. But then, so I'm sort of wondering, we were figuring what we had to hit for our image book for everybody to get their rate. And it's a lot lower than what you need to hit to be considered a successful work for hire book, but it's still like it was an intimidating number to me.
It's a
You
lot
know,
of
I was
money.
like, holy crap. And then so I was wondering like what do we bring that number down to for digital? And we look at the music model too.
Yeah.
Like we've been thinking a lot about the music model, and I have a friend who was a really big like radio musician in the 90s, and he walked away from that with no money. Like, that did not work out well for him, and now he tours a lot and hand sells his CDs and makes a nice living. Like, and I sort of wonder like if whether there are 19,000. God, I'm thinking in 9 directions, but there are so many different TV channels now, and like. I wonder if DC and Marvel are not like ABC, NBC, and now as digital is kind of broadening things, if we're not going to have where we're doing more.
I think that's exactly where we're going. We've had to, being in the baby apartment, we've been watching Hulu. We've never watched Hulu before. 'Cause we had to watch everything on the computer because we couldn't watch it or we'd wake Georgia up. And I was like, well, we just got an Apple TV. That is the future, I believe. It's you can access everything, and then you can watch it on your television.
Yeah, we're all Netflix now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Any other questions? Oh, Henry? Oh.
Because we're desperate for money.
The question is basically like, why in comics does it seem that everybody's more accessible? I think that comics is a lot younger than, you look at Chris and I were involved in the science fiction fantasy field. He's written a number of novels and went to a lot of those conventions, and that audience skews older. Also, things have changed a lot in the last couple of years. And I think that you would be surprised at how much creators in general, whether it be people who make movies or people who write novels or make comics, have to do a lot of their own press. I think that there's been this misconception that the company takes care of it. And in some cases, that happens.
Yeah.
But in a lot of cases, it doesn't.
I've known novelists have to fund their own book tours
Yeah.
too.
Comics comes from a history of comes from zine culture as well. So mail order and Bud Plant catalogs. So there's a lot of someone sends you a $3 check, you cash it, and then you mail the comic to them. So, and sometimes you write a note and they write you something back. So I think it kind of stems organically from that.
And I think, comics we're so small, I mean, even, obviously I'm talking about outside of the big dogs. You're, like Jen said, the marketing department is getting out there and arranging interviews and getting as much exposure as they can. But we're all pretty small. we're all pretty little, and the editors want to do their part, the creators want to do their part, and I think it would be great if publishing companies and webcomic artists had people out there that were doing these things for them, and they do to an extent, but we're trying to utilize all the resources at our disposal, I think.
And I think it was covered briefly too that as an artist, we are selling like I myself am a product, and so it helps to advertise as yourself because it's more personable, I think.
With an autobio comic, I would imagine even more so.
Yeah, totally. That would be weird, right? If somebody other than myself was talking about my autobio comic.
Yeah. Oh, and also, obviously, a lot of artists will then sell those original pages, but you've never been like, God, I wish I had page 5 of that Patricia Cornwell book from original manuscript. Like, you're like buying like a giant piece of artwork that they touched themselves and that you can like have in your home. So I think
it becomes very personal. I think
it does
in general. I think
you should see what people hang in their bathrooms. That says something. And also, speaking of comics consumption in your own time, though. If you ever see your book in someone's bathroom, be happy because you know they're actually reading it.
That's
It
where
is
my
true.
husband does
It is
most of
true.
his
I
reading.
bring so many
in the
books in
bathroom.
the toilet. To the toilet.
Maybe that's just me.
I know the specifically Arun Singh and James Viscardi at Marvel bust their butts and work very, very hard, PR people, and I imagine that's probably true across the board. I think that I involved myself as much personally as I did or as I have, in part because I'm an oversharer, and it's just in my nature, and also because I wanted to be. I wanted to be able to build a fan base that I could then take with me to other projects, and so I wanted my name to be as attached to that as I could, so that hopefully I could have a rapport relationship or have something that I stood for in some way with this group of people that I'm asking to support me regularly,
And honestly, you have to kind of you can't go at everybody all the time with everything, because then they won't run anything as far as going to the press and asking them. You have to kind of spread it around a little bit. So that's, from a perspective from a company, it's like, I try to pick my battles basically and figure out where can I get the most bang for my buck in this place or in this place.
What has been interesting to me lately has been thinking about okay, where are non-traditional comics places that we could try, can I I'm a rather outspoken feminist, can I get coverage on feministing? Can I get, where could I I went beating on the doors of the Stars and Stripes and was like, hey, I grew up in the Air Force. I'm writing a book about an Air Force lady. Don't you want to talk to me? What an interesting human interest story I am. Which is, shameless and ugly, but I'm going to sell my book. So then I've been struck with this, and this comes back, I think, to something that Tom was saying, that coming up against this wall. So I've been like, all right, so I'm getting my book and my name in front of new people who don't know how to buy comics. Try to write an explanation of how to do that, and really am I is this foolish? Is this dumb? Should I maybe just keep trying to use the same? I don't know. I don't have an answer to that question. That's a thing I've been thinking about. Trying to broaden this outreach and get in front of new names. Is that dumb? Is it a waste of my time if they can't actually find the book?
Well, they can find it on Comixology.
Yeah, well, and I guess that's the thing we've been talking about digital. A thing I started doing now is every Wednesday I have a page on my Tumblr that's kellysue.tumblr.com/books, and I have a link
Yes.
to everything, and I'm, somebody like Bendis couldn't go back and do this, but I'm lucky in that I'm new enough that it took me, about an hour and a half to go through, find everything of mine that was on Comixology, and there is a link directly to everything that you can buy digitally on that books page, and there is a link to everything that you can buy from Amazon on that page, so that. And dude, I am shameless. I've got my little Amazon merchant, whatever, the referral bullshit thing. I got that code in there. I'm getting my 10 cents.
I'm not sure how much time we have left.
About 3 minutes.
2 minutes?
I should shut up.
Does anybody, we'll take one last question. To this lovely woman here.
So I have this theory. So at Boom Studios, it's a little funny because 2 out of the 3 senior editors at Boom are ladies. We have a majority lady bullpen, which is kind of crazy. But I have this theory about that, about the space that the internet gives ladies, especially ladies that are our age. There's this kind of, you can track this kind of history, ladies born in the early 80s, late 70s, where they literally came of age as artists and creators about the time, we had this like second golden age of Disney deal and the Sailor Moon kind of thing, and you were watching these shows as a kid, as a preteen, and suddenly there was this space, the internet, and instead of being told you're a girl, you can't draw, your Sailor Moon art is sick. Like, it's the best that the other 12-year-old girls have ever seen. And so instead of stopping drawing because you're a girl and you can't draw, you draw more and you draw more and you put it on there. And suddenly there is this, I feel like there's this sea change happening in creative industries everywhere, animation and comics, where there are these women who are just kind of doing their own thing, and suddenly they're the senior executives and they're the ones making decisions. And it's very interesting. It gives the space that the comic book store traditionally does give males. The internet is kind of that space for women, or provides a space like that for women. And so I think you're onto something there.
I didn't notice that we were only all women until you said that.
Yeah.
So I Hope Larson actually, like a year ago, was interviewed. She's a female cartoonist. And I believe she maybe even drew it, or she mentioned how women are like octopuses. And science-wise. But they like to multitask. And it's part of their process creatively. Okay, we're getting some okay. So yeah, so look that up. But many things, many hands.
I just want to thank everybody for coming today and for all of my lovely panel cohorts. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Woo!
Yeah, I'm taking this water.
Free water.